Americans are worried about their job security despite continued historically low unemployment. According to a new study from MarketWatch, a full 70% of employees are bracing for layoffs in some way, whether that means saving money or applying for other jobs. To help us dive into this study, we welcome in Matt Brannon, who is the MarketWatch Guides data journalist. Great to have you here with us. So, just take us into some of these findings. 7 in 10 workers bracing for job cuts here.
That's right. Thank you for having me on. So we wanted to learn more about how people are reacting to news of potential layoffs. We know that in 2023 and in 2024, there were a lot of headlines about layoffs, especially at tech companies, giving people a lot of concern. So what we wanted to do is we decided to survey 1,000 American workers, excluding those who are self-employed, because you can't lay yourself off, to find out how worried they are about being laid off. So we asked about job security, opinions on if they're taking preparations to get ready for layoffs, financial readiness, and how far they'd be willing to go to keep their job. And as you mentioned, 70% of the people we surveyed said they're bracing for layoffs in some way. That means different things to different people. 40% of those are people who say they're saving more of their income than usual. 32% say they're actively browsing job listings, and 24% say they're actually applying to new jobs right now. Those numbers are even higher among younger workers who are especially nervous. It makes sense, given that Gen Z workers would be a little more anxious, they have less seniority, and they're particularly worried about being laid off.
With that in mind, and kind of continuing down that thread, I'm wondering where it continues to kind of break up, where there's some divergences even among generations that are actively in the workforce right now.
Yeah, absolutely. There are big differences, and one of the big ones is that age gap. So we found that baby boomers feel more secure in their jobs. It makes sense. They've worked for decades building up their seniority, whereas Gen Z workers, 88% are taking steps to prevent a job loss, trying to preempt it in some sort of way. Layoff anxiety is a term that we asked about to find out just how concerned people are. And a majority of Gen Z workers and nearly half of millennials are anxious about being laid off. So we've definitely found that the younger you are, the more likely you are concerned about this. And that also matters because younger generations are particularly fearful of AI coming to take their jobs. That was another one of our big takeaways.
It's really interesting. For those who are concerned with AI potentially taking their jobs and then hearing that, hey, maybe there's a way that I could work with AI to be more productive, and maybe even getting to a point where just give me the AI so I can be more productive and keep my job. How are you seeing people potentially reskill or upskill even in order to add on to their own job security, or at least best position themselves to be more productive in their current role?
Well, one of these aspects, it's a little bit tough to get ahead of the curve if you're already deep into your career. One of the things I would mention is that it's going to depend on what field you're in. So there was an MIT study that looked at what they called vision-related tasks, which are jobs they deemed a little easier to study in terms of how likely it is for AI to replace them. And they found that jobs like retail, social services are at higher risk than roles pertaining to education and finances. So one thing I would say is it's going to depend on your job field, how nervous you are about being laid off. And the researcher who wrote that paper, we spoke to him, who said that these things are going to start to happen as soon as companies feel they can upscale their AI enough to where it can replace people. And we did recently see Intuit lay off about 10% of its workforce, citing AI as one of the reasons there.
I know you have some tips as well for dealing with layoffs, because it's never something that anyone wants to have to experience within their career. Many of us do at one point or another, and it's never easy. But some of those tips might be very helpful for folks right now as well. I hope it doesn't happen, but in the event that it does.
Absolutely. As part of this project, we talked to a lot of experts about what to do if you are fearful that you will be laid off or that you have just been laid off. The first step, if you're facing a layoff, is just to seek support. You don't want to get wrapped up in the financial and turmoil you might be feeling internally. It's much better to just take a breath and try to talk to people you trust. From then, if you are laid off, there are resources out there for people who have recently been laid off. You can talk to the Career Center at maybe your alma mater, or there are local American Job Centers, which are funded by the Department of Labor, which provide interview training, help with people organizing their resume, that sort of thing. I would also add, once you're in that sort of position, it's important not to focus too much on the fact that you're in a state of uncertainty. It's still important to find time to do the things you like to do, just to try to take your heart rate down and remember that there are other things in life aside from maintaining your job.
Certainly. And I'll add one on, Matt. Preempt it. I mean, just go to your boss and off cycle, just say, hey, I want to know what I can do better. Where do you think I can help this team more? Sometimes that goes a long way too, and just showing initiative. So Matt, thanks so much for taking the time here on the day. Matt Brannon, who's the MarketWatch Guides data journalist. Appreciate it.